Hello guys, David Vose here. Boy, it's bright and early. The sun's coming up over the horizon. It's gonna be a beautiful day. I'm gonna go pick up a wood stove. Found this wood stove on Marketplace. It's just really neat. I'll probably take pictures of it and show you later on. But hope you're having a wonderful day, guys. And the Lord is blessing you. And I hope these videos we've been doing, I hope they're blessing you. I hope we're able to maybe understand a little bit deeper what the Bible's trying to tell us. You know, we read that book all those years and we thought it was about the holy people and they were the only true people and their deity was the only true deity, and we had to do all of this and we were all in bondage and we were all dying to this day. Nobody's able to do all of these things and nobody's keeping any of these laws, including the pastors that's preaching it. So nobody's pure. All the pastors got multiple wives and children out of wedlock. We don't care about that anymore. You know, but there are certain things we care about. Like, well, since most of us good people do those things, we'll just condemn that. And then we'll have a group of people we can condemn. But of course, all these other sins that we commit every day, we'll just ignore that. The worst of which is materialism, idolatry, which is what you're doing. You're idolizing that book, the words, your doctrines, your traditions, following after your own false prophets. And we could go on and on. Lying, committing acts of murder, going to war against your neighbors, what Jesus said, turn the other cheek. You're not doing anything the Lord told you to do as a Christian. Well, that might tell you that we've gotten something wrong. We don't even know how to read our own book, our own holy book. And it turns out when you go back and you look at the Old Testament, even the Judeans don't know how to read theirs because they think they're the chosen people. And yet, Judah, the progenitor of their race, married a Canaanite. And everybody who thinks that all these Canaanites are bad and evil and we're the chosen ones and all the nations are but dogs under our feet, haven't got a brain big enough to understand that they are the children of Canaanites. All the way back, even Noah himself, who married the Canaanite woman, or the woman from Cain's line. And we've been going through all of that, and it's just fascinating. I thought that video we did the other day, and I'm sad that it didn't do that many views. It seems like I've got to put Trump on the front cover, or else nobody will watch it. But friends, those videos I'm doing on history, the last couple of videos I've done, you should watch them and share them with others. There's some information in these videos that you're not getting anywhere. It explains why we need love and what love got to do with it. What love got to do with it, got to do with it, as Tina Turner would say. But today I want to go at it from another angle. I want you to understand that there is so much more to the Bible, and it will blow your mind when you begin to see and unveil this truth. In the Old Testament, we've got this account in the first chapter, in the first verse, of supposedly the creation in the beginning. And we have no idea when that was. Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Boy, that was a long time ago. And then he just made this little earth here. Because back in those days, probably 1,000 years ago, they didn't know there was all these stars out there. They had little slits in the fabric of the cosmic dome, right? Who knows? We don't know what they thought. Well, I'm about to share with you that they actually knew what was going on a little bit better than probably even you and I. Because they could pick out stars that, for all practical purposes, were just little slits in the fabric of the dome, and not only tell you that they're glittering, bright sources of our life and for the reason that we got here, that they had something to do with how and why we got here. I mean, out of all those billions of stars, I mean, there's estimated to be 100 billion stars in our galaxy alone. And when you look up at the sky, you see a lot of these stars, but there's a couple, I mean, here and there. You might see one here and there. It's not even a star, it's a galaxy. Ho, buddy, you think they could possibly know which ones are stars and which ones are galaxies? Well, yeah. In fact, they chose one that they talk about all the time in the Greek mythology. It says our mother created the human race, and they call her Andromeda. And that particular star, how would they know, is actually the closest major galaxy to our galaxy. How would they even know there are galaxies? Little stars grouped in hundreds of millions of stars, little swirling hundreds of millions of stars, in little groups. They wouldn't know that, would they? And if anybody did know that, it's probably somewhere in the Bible, right? That's where we get truth. The only place for truth is in the Bible. Because all these stories about creation and these deities can only be found in the Bible. I mean, these Greek mythologies, they're just mythologies. They're just stories, tall tales. And a bunch of infidels probably wrote them because it's all about lust and hate and violence, kind of like David raping Bathsheba, as we talked about yesterday or the day before, because I didn't do a video yesterday. Had a lot to do. But yeah, I'm going to share with you a story from the Greeks that will then begin to see, when we know the story, that it really is talking about something we know from the Bible. A little deity named Perseus, which is where we get the word Persian, and they also call him Orion, and so they also call themselves Iranians. But we call them the Aryan race. And some ignorant fools who don't know anything about anything thinks that's white people. But I'm about to share with you not only that it's now white people, but it's all the human race, but it may have started with a black woman. I know. Now, let me start by telling you a story hidden within the Bible that I don't think you've ever heard before. But there's a story in the Greek mythology. It's a beautiful story. I think it's the most beautiful story I've ever heard. It may be the most beautiful story you've ever been told. And after you've heard this most beautiful story, I don't think you'll ever forget it. But you see, the story goes that our entire world had a beginning. You've probably heard about the beginning. In the beginning, deity Elohim made the heavens and the earth. Well, that's the Hebrew story. And it's derived from the Sumerian, the Babylonian, and the Egyptian story. And everybody's story is derived from the Great Pyramid, which survived the flood, which is the story of Enoch or Thoth. And the Greeks just took their stories because they got them from Egypt. Because Pythagoras went down and joined the priesthood in Egypt. And his teachers Solon and Thales were some of the priests from Egypt. They taught him many things. And the Greeks learned all of their... there's a story where Pythagoras is talking to the priests, and they are telling him that the Greeks don't know anything, and that they got their knowledge from the Egyptians. And the Egyptians know all this ancient wisdom. Well, I don't know if they had carried that knowledge down to us except through the Greek symbols. I think, in other words, we get the Greek mythology from the truth that they learned but couldn't reveal or maybe didn't know or probably couldn't reveal to us. But when we look at it from the most ancient source, we're looking at it simply the same thing, but we're looking at it like as if we spoke the language. So we knew what the words meant. Today we're getting words like Cassiopeia. We don't know what it means. Cassie comes from cosmos. Says she's beautiful. Yeah, the cosmos is arranged. The arrangement, adorned. So she's beautifully arranged. They say she excels or she's superior. Well, that's not quite it. They don't really know the meaning of these words. But it comes from cosmos, to be beautifully arranged. And Ethiopia is Ethiopia. But the root of that is opi, optics, what you see. So Ethiopia means the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. The most beautiful woman who's beautifully adorned and arranged. Well, who is that? Well, Andromeda is the daughter of Cephas. That means the father. This is why Jesus said to Peter, your name is Simon Bar Jonas, son of John, son of January, Anu. Anu is the father, right? Well, I'm going to call you Peter or Petra, which is the Latin for father. A variation of that is also stone. But Peter wasn't called stone because it was upon this foundation I will build my church. Or was it? Because the foundation stone is Jesus, not Peter. But Peter was the father, Petra. This is why all of the popes, papas, are called Petra, Peter. Well, in the Greek story, he's Cephas. Cephas had a daughter named Andromeda. She was the most beautiful woman. It literally means the cosmos, the universe. So Cephas is the father. Now his wife is Cassiopeia, which is the cosmos. So Cephas, the father, has this daughter named Andromeda. Andros in Greek means the human. See, the human race, there's no way to get around this when you understand the original words from Enoch himself. If he spoke his language, you'd see it. But it was translated and transcribed into other languages, and we don't speak those languages anymore. Koine Greek and Egyptian and all these other mythological languages that we don't understand. So we say Andromeda, and we don't know what is this. Well, she's the daughter of the father. And she's the daughter of the mother, who is the cosmos, nature, the whole creation, the woman. And she's the human race, Andromeda. But Andromeda was offered to this beast because the beast was trying to kill. The beast represents the seven heads, Tiamat, the seven-headed dragon. Tiamat is a time and matter. Time and matter is the beast that, as Einstein says, warps everything into the material, because you really don't fall to the earth. You're pushed by the warping of space. So the space is pushing you. You're not actually falling. But time and matter is warping, pushing into form and creating. So Sophia made Yahweh the lower ego, and this is the lower magnet that is attracting everything to it. But the world was made then from the Divine Father and the cosmos, the mind and the material. And they came together and they had a child, which was this beautiful human, Andromeda. She was a beautiful daughter. Well, she was going to be eaten by the time and the space, by the materiality, by the force, by the vengeance of the lower ego. And that great beast, that ravenous beast, wanted to eat and consume the human. So they tied Andromeda up to a pole, and the beast was coming to kill her and eat her. But Perseus, he loved her. And Perseus is Jesus. And this is where we get the word for the Persians. But the Persians are also called the Aryans. So we sometimes call the Persians Iran, right? The Iranians is the Orions. And Orion is the first to rise on the over the horizon in spring, because it's Aries, which is March, because Mars rules over it, and we're marching forward out from the duat, from hell, because it's Jesus rising from the dead, Perseus. And Perseus is the son of Zeus. Wow! Zeus is the father of the deities. Well, it seems like there's two fathers, right? Zeus is the father of the deities, but we also have the Cephas is the father of Andromeda, the human race. Now go put that in your pipe and smoke it. I don't know. I'm just telling the story. Don't blame me if it destroys all of your paradigms. But I'm telling you, this is the story that comes from the original pyramid that is built by Enoch, who the book of Enoch says is the Messiah, who went, at least, if you will at least believe in your Bible, Enoch went and walked with deity, and he learned everything. And he was a mediator between the angels and the demons, and yeah, he even went, Enoch preached to the spirits that were in prison. Right? What? The spirits in prison? 2 Peter? Peter's talking about the spirits in prison, and Christ died and went and preached to spirits in prison. Who were they? Well, by the same way you are being saved, through baptism. What? Because through baptism we die with Christ that we might live with him. When Christ died, what did he do? He went down under the waters and became human. He married his bride. He had to come down here to marry her, to deliver her, because she was chained to this post, which is the law. Like that man who had a legion of demons was chained to a post. He was crazy. We were the human race. We were crazy, full of demons that possessed us. Hate and anger. That beast was eating us. We got swallowed up, and we went down through the bottom of the wheel, and we were swimming through hell. And it wasn't good. The beast came up out of the bottomless pit and stood on the sands of the sea, which is the horizon. And there, Orion's got a bow, right? He's the great hunter. And he's going to deliver Andromeda, the human race. He's going to marry her. Cassiopeia, her mother, the universe. Well, if Cassiopeia is the universe and she gives birth to the human race, she's marrying Perseus. Well, who's Perseus? He's not part of the human race? No. He is the spiritual child, right? Yeah, we got two deities here. We got the spiritual and the physical. And remember, the humans are the child of the human, the physical. John, January, Uranus. But then we have Zeus. And Zeus is also in the story, in the Egyptian story, Osiris. And in the Sumerian story, he's Enlil or An-El. He's the heavenly El. Zeus, the heavenly deity with a thunderbolt. So he is another deity who gives birth to these 12 titans. And 6 of them he banishes to the prison. Well, Jesus went and preached to the prison. Who were in prison? The giants. And why were they there? Because they forsook their first estate. right? They were the position that they were given, because there was the physical and the spiritual, because Adam and Eve was both, right? Spiritual and physical. They were immortal too, originally. But they had Cain and Abel, the flesh and the spirit. And the flesh was banished and punished in this prison, in this materiality. And so Jesus went and preaches to the dead. That's what it says. He preached to the dead, and this is now saving you, namely baptism. Well, what do you mean saving you? Well, when Jesus preaches, he saves you. See, the same thing that saves them, he preached to the spirits in prison. Who? The dead. Who are the dead? The mortals. The ones who forsook their position and became seduced and chained to a post. So anyway, we've got a good story going on here. But Perseus is the Persians. Iran is Orion. And Perseus is the spiritual child that we all are identifying with, because we're the Aryan race. So who is this woman we married? Andromeda, the human. We got both. Yeah. Our daddy, we could say we're from the Canaanites and from Israel. But there's another nation in the world called Aryan, not just the Iranians. We've also got Iron. It's hard to say, because I'm talking English and the Irish would say it, Iron, right? But we say Ireland. I know Ireland, but we're trying to pronounce the letters and we've gotten it wrong. There's no lind. It's just Iran. That's how you say Ireland. Go talk to a person who speaks Irish. And there ain't too many of those left, because I know people. And one of my best friends is from Ireland. And they don't even speak Irish. They speak English. So they might not even know that Ireland is iron. But yeah, the Aryan race, that's us. It isn't white people and black people. It has nothing to do with that. But it's interesting that Ethiopia is in Africa. And Ethiopia comes from the word opi, or optics, which is probably where we're getting the idea of beautiful. Because the Ethiopian princess, she said, I am more beautiful than the Nereids, because there was a god named Neros, and he had these daughters that were the Nereids. Well, that's interesting, because we're about ready to see the Nereids fall to the earth on April the 16th of this year, and they're going to be a spectacular show. It's like these angels or stars falling from heaven, the Nereids, because the Andromeda, or Ethiopian lady, which is Aphrodite, Afro meaning Africa, is the Ethiopic, or the most beautiful. And she said, I'm more beautiful than those falling angels, those Nereids. Well, about this time you might be thinking, okay, this is probably just a coincidence, because they didn't know that the constellation Andromeda is 2.5 million light years away, not even part of our galaxy, right? And if they'd have gotten, by some accident, if they'd have picked a star out to be named Andromeda, the progenitor of the human race, wouldn't they pick out some random star? Probably wouldn't be a galaxy. There might be some significance to that. But here's the part you probably don't know. Andromeda Galaxy is the closest major galaxy to our galaxy. Now, how would you know that? By just taking a gander up into the heavens and saying, oh, let's just choose that star. So these Greeks must have known something. And they're saying, look, that particular star, we're going to call that the progenitor of the human race. And it just happens to be another galaxy, way bigger than ours, that is 2.5 million light years away. I mean, it'd be a long ways if it was 2.5 million miles, right? But it's 2.5 million light years. So if you're traveling at the speed of light, which is 186,000 miles per second, you would not get there for 2.5 million years if you're traveling that fast. Sound would take absolutely forever in a year. But by light, it would take you 2.5 million years. But that's the closest major galaxy to us. So this is an event. We're probably talking billions and trillions of years ago. So the Bible's giving you history that didn't just happen yesterday or even 6,000 years ago, like these idiots, these modern Protestants, Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and Adventists think all began 6,000 years ago. But we're talking about a speck of light, 2.5 million light years away from Earth. Somehow or another, that produced, at least symbolically, the human race. Well, if it's just symbolic, right? It just represents a person, not actually the galaxy, way out there. Then why did they accidentally choose a galaxy and then happen to choose the only one in these 100 billion stars in our galaxy that you could see? And there happens to be one that ain't a galaxy at all. There happens to be one of these little stars that isn't even a star. It's actually a galaxy. And it happens to be the very closest major galaxy to the galaxy we live in. It might indicate that our beginnings is an evolutionary transmigratory pathway that leads to the center of our galaxy and then beyond to the closest galaxy. And if that is the proper migration, then we might assume that even in our galaxy, there is a chain link, that our solar system is linked to Sirius, the star, because it is the closest major star to us. And, this is not that far away, but there's another star called Alpha Centauri, which is part of a triplex of stars, one of which is Sirius, one of which is Alpha Centauri, and another of which is our sun. We kind of are a little family. And by the way, according to our scientists, I mean, who knows if this is true, another one of our hoaxes, they claim they found a planet, and this particular planet is in the Alpha Centauri star system, which would be the closest star system to us. But like I said, Sirius is the one we see, the bright, and that's Isis, our mother, in the Greek and Egyptian mythology. So Isis is our mother. But the mother of the Andromeda Galaxy, which is the andros, the human, the physical, the mother is Isis. Now, did we birth them? Or is that our great Canaanite mother? Because after all, the Bible says that the woman's seed shall give birth to the Messiah and crush the serpent's head. The serpent, now there's nothing wrong with the serpent. That's the flesh. But there is different kinds of serpents. And this particular serpent had been cursed, and it started becoming, well, Isaiah said it had children, a cockatrice and a viper. And that was the Judeans. They were descendants, and they began to bite. And they had this law, and they wanted to kill everybody. And so that carnal flesh, that bestial, negative, lustful part of the flesh that was crucified, that serpent that was hung on a cross, which is the flesh, it was the Christ self that was the seed of the woman. And the woman is the Canaanite woman who is Andromeda. who just happens to be 2.5 million years, light years away from Earth, which means that we're talking about the human race being the child and the prodigy of another galaxy. This is amazing. But we can gather that Cassiopeia, which is cosmos and Ethiopia, meaning Ethiopia, but Cassiopeia is, well, her whole story is that she's more beautiful than these other Nereids that were the daughters of some other god named Neros or something. But there must have been some kind of a jealousy there. She thought she was the most beautiful woman, and she became known as the most beautiful woman because she is the cosmos, and there's no particular star associated with her except the cosmos, which I suppose was the Greek way of saying the entire universe. Did they even know what the universe was? Well, evidently they knew that within the universe there were galaxies or places that weren't actually stars in our galaxy. There's some kind of a difference there. And they knew that the star we call Isis was the closest star to Earth. They knew that. And they knew that Andromeda was the closest galaxy. But they knew that the mother, Cassiopeia, the cosmos, optical Ethiopia, the beautiful cosmos, was the mother. The entire highest woman is the entire thing, the whole creation, just as our Bible says. And the father, or the divine father mind, Cephas, father, and Cassiopeia gave birth to Andromeda, this other galaxy that they could pick out of the 100 billion lights, in the sky. They're like, that's a galaxy, and that's the closest one to this galaxy. How'd they know that? And by the way, the mother is also represented by this star over here called Sirius, which is the closest star to us. And it has a sister star, Alpha Centauri, which has a planet that we've discovered that's very much like the Earth. I don't even know if I believe that. But if these scientists are telling the truth, then perhaps it really is a planet that we have inhabited before in our evolution. And now, here we are in the future on a place called Earth, which seems to be a daughter of the mother. Wow, what an amazing story. Look, am I saying we came from other stars? Well, we'd have to. They're light years away, meaning they're in the past. And if we existed in the past. And of course, 4 billion years ago, the Earth wasn't here. And just, I don't know how many millions of years ago, and the Earth wasn't inhabitable. So if we existed in the past, we existed somewhere. And we evolved through our mother and come out her womb. And the universe is the womb. And there's the negative pole and the positive pole. And as we've said, the Earth itself, Mother Earth, births us through her womb. And we come out the bottom end of our mother, but we came in through the top, the head, the halo, the helium, the L, the all. Oh, my friends, this is beautiful. So the Nereids were nymphs, little female nymphs that lived under the water. There was 50 of them. They were daughters of the old man of the sea, Nereus. Now, their mother was the Oceanid Doris. Remember Endor, the witch of Endor? Doris is up there in the Greek area, which is, of course, the Greek mythology. That's where it all got started. And we've already talked about how Hercules is Samson in our Bible, and Samson married Delilah, and so Hercules goes up there, or Samson goes up there, and becomes the priesthood from Judah and from Dan, and marries the Syrian high priesthood and goes to Crete and then to the Spartans and the Greeks and then the Romans, and has this lineage that the Caesars and the Ptolemies and the Irish go back to these Tuatha De Dananns or Samson. So the mother is Doris. That's from Poseidon. Okay, so old man under the water is the old man Poseidon. He's the king of the trident, which is partly where we get the devil's trident today. So he's a little bit like the devil because he's not really the devil. Okay, there are three. There's also Hades. And Hades is the devil, but he's got a key. But anyway, Poseidon's not Zeus. Let's put it that way. They're all brothers, and they divide up the world. So Egyptus and Ethiopius, if we want to call her that, that's children of Zeus. See, and so the black Ethiopian, so she's more beautiful than the Nereids. Well, that would be the Greeks, of course. And the Nereids are from Old Man Nero, which is down under the sea, which is the Poseidon story. Well, they're not all so bad because remember, Perseus has to save Andromeda. Well, he can't make it through the sea. What kind of sea are we talking about here? Across the ocean of the heavens? He can't make it to rescue this beautiful Andromeda, human, that's chained up by law and be eaten by the carnal nature that's warped into this form by Tiamat, this great big beast that the Greeks call Cetus. And Cetus is the story of Jonah and the whale. Remember, Peter is the son of Jonas. Well, this is all related. But Perseus has got to save her. And so in order to get across the sea, these 50 daughters, they're like nymphs, and they're able to accompany them. When Perseus is in the boat, they're the Argonauts. Are they space nauts? Are they astronauts or Argonauts? Well, they're going somewhere across some kind of a sea. Maybe it's the waters above. And they're looking for the golden fleece. Yeah, Perseus is looking for the golden fleece. And that's also the story that we find in the European stories with Percival. Percival was trying to save a woman, remember? Yeah, and he could pull out the sword. All these stories are variations of the same story. But if the Ethiopian woman, Egyptus, and these individuals are children of Zeus, and she thinks she's more beautiful than Nereids, which is the children of Poseidon, and that's a whole other area. Now, in our Bible, it's the people from Greece. Well, they have a wedding, right? So Alexander the Great up there in Greece, he comes down into Africa and marries the African princess. And this is the welding of the Greeks and the Romans with the African people. And this is how Alexandria in Egypt ended up, and Heliopolis ended up, all of their authority and their religious knowledge was transferred to the Greeks and then to the Romans. And we have this Latin story. But mostly we go by the Greek, the Zeus story, which is some part of who we are. Well, it's this beautiful promise that would be the seed of the woman, which is Rael, and her seed is Joseph, and he became the one who got the blessing to become a multitude in the earth. All nations, tribes, and tongues. All the peoples of this world came through this woman through Zeus. But who are these Nereids? Why are they falling from heaven? Well, the Nereids in the story are the children of Poseidon. And as we've said before, Posei is Jepa, and Dan combined because Dan conquered Tyre and renamed it Sidon after his own name, Dan. So Samson married Delilah and welded the priesthood. That was the Phoenician priesthood, and that's the Canaanite priesthood. And so the Nereids are then Canaanites, perhaps even the angels that fell from heaven, which is what? Simply the children of Cain, who were of the fleshly nature and were given the area up around Greece, and the other, Zeus, who goes back to Noah before the flood, back through the Seth line. And they were told not to have relations. Cain was banished and was not allowed to have relations with the children of Seth. So the daughters of men and the sons of deity had relations, which means the spiritual and the physical, Esau and Jacob, ended up welding together the nation, the flesh and the spirit, in a wedding, in a union. But only after Cain's 7 times were over. And remember, Naamah was the daughter of Lamech. So that is when the curse of Cain had finally finished. And Noah was able to marry that daughter of Cain after the 7 times had been lifted, and therefore, in a sense, redeem the flesh. Because the flesh has to go through 7 times of some kind of punishment, being chained to the flesh or to the post by the law, restricted, under the sea, under the emotional level. Remember the woman that sits upon many waters, tribes and tongues and peoples, all the nations, the waters. So the Greeks, Japheth, who got the Isles of the Sea, in the story is usually like the Gorgon or this 7-headed monster. It's the sea monster. And it's trying to devour, so it's the flesh. It's trying to devour the spirit. There's this fight going on. And it swallows up the soul. The beautiful woman is trapped, or all of us, our psyche is trapped in this lower nature. And Christ from the higher nature, from Zeus and the cosmos, they have a child, Perseus, who is the Aryan race, the spiritual, the new race that we're all identifying with in Christ. And it's going to rise up. Christ is going to rise up on the horizon and deliver his bride, his body. If these Nereids are from Cain's line, then they are the messengers of the Melech. That's the kings. I don't know why sometimes we translate them messenger, sometimes we translate it angel, the angels who send. Well, who are they? They're sons of deity and the daughters of men. And their estate that they forsook was that they were not to have relations with the other group. But they did. And so they were punished for a certain period of time until that flesh was redeemed. Well, are you saying then that the angels who fell, that was put in prison? What prison? The prison of this law. Were physical beings in this creature, in this prison. We keep coming back and reincarnating into this world because of the flesh. So Jesus preached to the dead. That's what 2 Peter says. He preached to the spirits in prison, and then boom, he says he preached to the dead. Who are the dead? Those who were rebelling in the days that Noah was preaching, wherein only 8 were saved. So these were the people who had died when the flood came. And what happened to them? Because they'd all lived, since Adam, they lived 1,000 years. So all these people that died, what happened? Well, they got incarnated. They were in prison in the flesh. That's all of us. See? We're all here in prison. We're the flesh, but we're also the spirit. We can identify with both. And the flesh is going to be redeemed by the spirit. So Zeus, they're the deities. Well, isn't that us too? Well, that's that Christ in you. Yes, you are. I am the higher I am. But the lower I am deity and there is none else. I don't recognize any. You will bow down to me. I am vengeance. I am jealous. So that carnal nature that you have is fallen, and it is chained by means of the law in this prison. To be delivered, we need Christ. Anyway, guys, I'm out running around. I don't have a lot of time today, but I'm going to just leave it there. We'll talk more about that. It's just so awesome to me to synchronize and to understand the synchronicity of all religions, because that is the true religion, that we would know all the esoteric wisdom that was written down, for all scripture or writings by the priesthoods are inspired of deity, beneficial for teaching and for reproving and setting matters straight. And we're going to take the stick of Joseph, which is the 10 tribes that were scattered and made all these other universal religions that stemmed from Heliopolis, which, are the Gentiles or the pagans. And we're going to put that and make it one in the hand with the stick of Judah. And we will then have the restoration of all things spoken of by the mouth of all the holy prophets. And Elijah shall bring back the hearts of the fathers to their sons, and the hearts of the sons back into their fathers, that he might not destroy the earth with a curse. I'm going to go ahead and go. Hope you have a wonderful evening. May the Lord bless you. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.